Happy fucking Valentine's Day. Anyway, welcome to my review of My Bloody Valentine 3D, the 2009 horror remake that of My Bloody Valentine, which is arguably definitely the better film. The original 1981 movie, directed by George Mahalka. Um, I would say that film is better than the remake, but I would also say after watching this remake again that I think that this was still a pretty good film in its own right. I remember having a lot of fun with seeing this in the theater in 3D with my dad when it came out. It was a good memory. It was a lot of fun. And the 3D didn't really come across that great, at home because mainly I wear glasses and I don't have a 3D TV. I mean, the 3D on this DVD is not the best. It's the like red and green glasses and so forth, and gave me a headache. I had to stop. Like I tried watching it in 3D. I had to stop because it was giving me a headache, and the 3D effect wasn't that impressive. But even in 2D, the film was still really entertaining. It's an entertaining slasher. I would say it's one of the better horror film remakes out there. It does enough with the plot to make it stand out on its own. I do have some issues with it. I do think there's a little bit of pacing sort of problems, a little bit near the end. Um, I think some of the CGI effects don't really hold up very well. When you watch it in 2D, you can tell that it's definitely was a 3D, so it was meant to be seen in 3D, which, okay, it was fun in the theater, it was an interesting experience, and fun experience, but at the same time, I'm like, it might have been better if they just didn't make it in 3D. Just strictly 2D in the first place, so it doesn't have this gimmick feel. Because it does. It has some scenes definitely do have this gimmicky feel because they were meant to be seen in 3D. So, but they were effective in 3D, so I can't really bash it for that. But at the same time, I'm kind of like maybe it would just be better off if it just wasn't in 3D. Um, like Tom Atkins dying. It was a good kill, but at the same time, like, he didn't need to die. It's Tom Atkins. Why does he die in every horror film that I like him in for practically? I mean, he didn't die in Halloween 3, but he might. I don't know. I mean, he's like, shut it off, turn it off, stop it, stop it, stop it. We don't know. Maybe he didn't stop it, and then he gets killed later. I don't know. No idea. Uh, I know Night of the Creeps thrill me. He blows himself up along with the rest of the creeps. So, that's too bad. I think in the fog he makes it. I think he makes it in the fog. If maybe he doesn't. I haven't seen the fog in a while. John Carpenter's The Fog, so I need to see that again. But yeah, it just seems like he just doesn't seem to make it out alive. And I'm like, why? Tom Atkins is so awesome. Why does he have to die? Um, But anyway, Kevin Tighe though, from the bad guy from Roadhouse, like he got a hell of a kill. It was a very very well done makeup effect, and that's what's one thing that's a real standout for this film: the makeup effects by Patrick Lussier, which I think are just about. No, that's actually the director is Patrick Lussier. The makeup effects, duh, okay, I got conked in the head there. The makeup effects are by Gary J. Tunnicliffe, and he did a really good job. There's some really impressive makeup effects in this film, and it's kind of sad when you see so much practical makeup effects in this film. And this movie came out in 2009, and then when you just flash forward, 2010, 2011, 2012, 2013, 14, 15. Flash forward 6 years, and we got CGI blood and CGI gore and fucking lame ass shit. So, I mean, it's really like, it's really too bad. I would probably say this is, speaking of Patrick Lussier, I'd probably say this is his best film. This is Patrick Lussier's best film. He directed Dracula 2000. He directed, I think, Dracula 2. He directed a few other movies. But I would probably say this is his finest hour. He definitely has a lot of energy with the film. There's some really great shots he sets up. And, yeah, I think he did a really good job directing the film. Now, the cast I thought was pretty solid too. Jensen Ackles as Tom Hanniger. His performance was uneven to me. Like, it was kind of wooden. but at the same time, and I liked the character, and I was interested in his story, but at the same time, his performance is a little bit wooden. Could have been a bit better, a bit more believable. It was kind of laughable when he's trying to be a badass and trying to be, he's trying to be intimidating near the end. He's like, he's crazy, and he's just making funny faces. He's like, ah! But I could deal with it because I like Jensen Ackles. And Jamie King, I thought she did a solid job as Sarah Palmer. I really liked Kerr Smith as Axel Palmer. I thought he really did a really good job. Betsy Rue was pretty hot as Irene. It's pretty damn hot, really. So was Megan Boone as Megan. Betsy Rue, you got to see her butt naked, showing her shaved pussy and all, tits hanging out for a long, extended period of time. And honestly, in a really exciting, thrilling sequence where uh, the minor killer, he comes in and goes after her in the bedroom, and there's like 3 kills in that scene alone. So there's this asshole truck driver guy who banged her and filmed some footage of her, and she walks out butt naked with a gun trying to shoot him. The minor killer comes out from the cab of the guy's truck, stabs a pickaxe at his head, and then goes after her. But then the whole motel's owner, who's this played by this little person actress, she comes in and she gets the pickaxe right to the face. It gets slung right into the ceiling, sparks flying. Then the minor killer goes after Irene, and he sees her, like he hears her screaming, and he throws off the mattress, and then goes in with a pickaxe and starts. She actually lifts the bed frame up, and it looks like a cage. And the way this was shot was really well done. And so she lifts up the bed frame to try to protect her, and he keeps going at her, with the pickaxe, and she keeps getting out of the way. So there's like 2 or 3 times in a pretty thrilling sequence where the big pickaxe goes into one hole between the cage, and then another one, and then another one, and then finally he gets her. You don't actually see it penetrate though, so I have to admit that was a little bit kind of a letdown, considering that there's a lot of gore in this film. I mean, Kevin Tighe gets a pickaxe through the eye, like he gets curb stomped through his eye into a pickaxe, and it goes right through his head and everything. I mean, Tom Atkins gets a pickaxe right in the chin. It's sticking right out of his lower lip, and he gets his lower jaw ripped off. I mean, there's a lot of really, really good kills in this, but some of them were aftermath kills. Like the kill with the girl, like it was a good setup, but it was kind of a letdown when all it was you just hear the squelching noise and then blood splatter on the ceiling, on the not really on the ceiling, on the wall. But I still, I can't really complain much. I mean, I got to see it. I'm smoking hot chick, and nothing but her birthday soon. And I remember seeing that with my dad in the theater. That was we both liked that. Like that was pretty. That was good. Uh, uh, yeah. But you also have Ed Gathegi as Deputy Martin. I didn't mind him. Tom Atkins as Jim Burke. Was really good, as usual. Kevin Tighe as Ben Foley. Megan Boone, who's pretty. I think she's sexier than Megan Fox as Megan. Karen Baum as Deputy Ferris. She was okay. She didn't have much to do. Todd Farmer played Frank the Trucker. The guy, he looks like Stone Cold Steve Austin to me. So I was like, man, Stone Cold's so desperate he's a star in a horror film. No, really, he's not really Stone Cold, but he reminded me of Stone Cold. He's not as badass as Stone Cold, that's for sure. And yeah, Richard John Walters played Harry Warden, the miner. I liked how the film opened up, which was a flashback, was like was what it was in the past. Started out in 1997, and they start out the film with Harry Miner, and Harry Miner. It's actually Harry Warden. Sorry, Harry Miner. I don't know where that came from. They start out with Harry Warden, and the mine that he gets caught, they show newspapers of the killings, and he gets up out of his coma, out of the hospital, and then goes back to the mine, and that's where he ends up killing a bunch of teenagers. It's really well set up. There's some good kills. The one kill with the axe through the eye, that was some kind of shitty CGI, I have to admit. But it looked pretty good in 3D, but in 2D you could tell it was a bad effect. Uh, One girl though, she gets a shovel right through her mouth, went through her face, right through her, just right in her mouth, and it just severs the top and lower half. It just cuts her head in half. Just and then he just sliced her lower jaw off, and it just slides down the bottom of the shovel. It's a good effect. It really is. And Jensen Ackles, he's uh, he's dating the lead character, the female lead, Jamie King. And what happens is he gets separated from the group. The Harry Warden goes crazy, starts killing everybody, and Axel happened to have been there for Sarah. Axel played by Kerr Smith, and so that leads to them ending up getting married because Jensen ends up disappearing. His character, Tom Hanniger, ends up disappearing for 10 years. Because then after the Harry Warden gets shot at by Tom Atkins and his deputy, uh, the film flashes forward to 10 years later. And while it's doing this flash forward to 10 years later, it starts up with this really great score. I think this is a very underrated aspect of the film, the score by, I think it's Michael Wanmacher. I think that's what it is. I mean, but I could have sworn I heard it a little bit different. Like there was a different person who did the score. I'm just checking to make sure I got it right, because I think the score is a really good score, to be honest. Um, Especially one of these main soundtracks that it did. Um, I would know what the name of it is. I'm just looking for the track list. That's all I'm looking for, is the track list of it. Um, Prodigal Son. I really think it's a really fantastic piece of music. Prodigal Son. Michael Wanmacher. Yeah, he did do it. Michael Wanmacher, I thought, did a really good job with the score. And I'm just going to check Real C to see. It doesn't even look like he even has a Wikipedia page to see if he was able to do any more scores. I'm just checking to see if he got. Okay, he's still doing music, but he's not doing. Okay, he did music for 13 Sins. He did a score for Last Exorcism Part 2. He did the music for Haunting in Connecticut 2 Goes to Georgia. That's kind of bad. He did the music for Drive Angry, which is another film Patrick Lussier directed that I do want to check out sometime. I believe I have it on DVD, so I should check that out sometime. He did the score for Punisher Warzone, which wasn't much, but score for Piranha 3D as well. But I really did like his score for this film, for My Bloody Valentine 3D. Now, the film was actually a pretty decent hit. It was made on a budget of $14 million and made $102.7 million worldwide and $21.6 million in domestic DVD sales. So it's pretty much close to a little bit over 120 million. And I think a sequel was announced, but nothing ever happened with it. I think they were going to do it like in the snow, which I was like so excited about. And then they didn't do it. And I was like, why? Because the movie was successful. Instead, Lionsgate did more soft sequels, and I would have rather seen a sequel to this. But, that's just my opinion. But anyway, flashes back to 10 years later. Hanniger shows back up, and he's going to sell the mine, and the rest of the townsfolk aren't happy about that. And the film does this really good job starting this sort of whodunit thing. Once the kills start happening, the first kills start, minor kills start happening again 10 years later on Valentine's Day. They start happening at this hotel, and that's where you have the scene with Irene, in her nothing but her birthday suit, and 3 kills there. And then he goes. Then just the body count's pretty high actually in this. I mean, you have Irene, You have the truck driver, you have the little person, hotel owner, and then I believe, trying to remember exactly where it went from there. I mean, it just, I think he went and, Hanniger went back to the mine, and yeah, he went back to the mine, and then he killed Red. Red gets killed. But the film does a really good job making you think that Hanniger is not the top suspect, because he looks like, literally the film even shoots it the way where it looks like he's stuck in the cage and watching Harry kill everybody, kill Red. So it works really well in that regard. And yeah, spoilers, sorry. I mean, it's a movie from 2009. I'm pretty sure a lot of people have already seen this film. But anyway, it does a really good job, I thought, really detailing how the psychosis of Tom Hanniger, and it does it really does trick you really well. I mean, if you haven't seen it yet, part of me doesn't want to give it away, but it's kind of like, don't watch the rest of this review. I mean, but it's like the film ended up doing the Tommy Jarvis angle from Friday the 13th Part 5, but actually went there. See, I was a little bit disappointed by that film because I thought it was going to go there with Tommy Jarvis in his psychosis becoming Jason. But they didn't go there until like after the film was almost pretty much over. And they had some other guy be Jason, which I thought was kind of a cop-out. I think they should have went with that character. It would have made it a little bit more interesting to me. Here, though, but then again, it would have messed it up for part 6, so I guess I'm kind of okay with it, I guess, because Tommy Jarvis is in part 6, and if he was Jason in part 5, it really wouldn't work out too well. But I still think it would be an interesting thing to see. And this film ended up taking that angle and running with it, with Jensen Ackles. And so the film does a good job at this is whodunit. Like, these kills are starting to happen again. Red gets killed. Kevin Tighe gets killed. Tom Atkins gets killed. The housekeeper for the lead, Sarah, she ends up getting killed in a homage to the first film. She gets killed and her body gets thrown in the dryer, which is a kill from the first movie. See, this film did a good job with homages, though. Like, it still had, like, the minor, but you had different kills that you didn't see in the original. But it did have a little bit throwbacks, like the hearts and the candy boxes, and the dryer kill, and the scene where the minor suits fall down, and the lead girl is running away, and the minor shows up in a good jump scare. It didn't go and try to copy the first film signature kill with the shower head, which I'm glad. It did its own thing, and that's the reason why I think it holds up, is because it did end up trying to be its own film. It had a few homages to the original, but it wasn't anything that was blatantly just a complete utter ripoff of the plot and everything and so forth. It did its own spin on it, which I liked. And that's why I'm willing to accept the ending. Well, that's why I'm okay with our lead, Jensen Ackles, ending up being the killer, because I think it's a unique ending. I think it's a unique plot twist, and I think it actually works really well. And it's something that helps the film stand out from other horror film remakes. So anyway, you have this, so this kills start happening, and then there's like questions that maybe Harry Warden might just come back, because you find out that Tom Atkins and Kevin Tighe, they took it upon themselves to kill Harry Warden afterwards, kind of like Freddy Krueger. They decided to be a vigilante and kill Harry Warden, and they buried him. But the Sheriff Axel, gets them to show him where the grave is, and he's not there. So of course they're assuming that he's somehow alive. But Axel's a level-headed one, and he's not buying it. I also like the fact that Axel's a character who's not perfect. He's cheating on his wife, and he's being pretty much of a dick. And I like that aspect as well, because it shows you that, and it really does help for when the film tries to make you think that Axel is a killer, because it really does work. You see the boxes of candy in his cabin, and all of that. And you're like, it really does work. And then, so you have that sort of whodunit going on. There's even like the black the sheriff's deputy that played by an African American actor, who I think did a pretty solid job performance wise. Even Hanniger's like, why were you at the mine? It was like, hey, I'm not the suspect, you are, So you're like, oh my God, did he do it? So I thought it did a pretty good job with the whodunit storyline, and then you have I thought a really exciting, fun scene in the supermarket where Sarah works with her coworker Megan, and the minor killer shows up and chases after them. And that was a really thrilling, well shot sequence. And then you have you see he grabs her. You think she might get out the window, but the killer's right there, and he drags her out the window. And then you see that you don't see this kill, but I'm okay with that because this kill is really intense. You see the aftermath, and it's enough, and it doesn't linger on it. It doesn't make it seem like it's torture. It doesn't like I doesn't. And it's not the best word to say torture porn, but it doesn't make it seem like it's okay. We're exploiting this, like a Serbian film, for instance. You just see a quick shot. It was brutal enough. Great effects by Gary J. Tunnicliffe. And this girl, Megan, she's dead. Her chest is ripped open, and the unborn fetus of the baby that she was going to have with with uh, with the sheriff, I believe is in the heart box. It might be just the heart, but I thought it was a fetus. I could be completely wrong. But and then and written in blood is the words "Be mine forever." And there's blood all over the brick wall, in the alley and everything. It's a really nasty, aftermath, but it doesn't linger on it, and I respect the film for that. Then, and we didn't really need to see it. I mean, part of me is kind of like, no, I didn't really need to see it because he cuts out the heart after they're dead, so it's not like I really needed to see that. But anyway, so then it leads up to the climax where you think Jensen Ackles is trying to get Sarah to believe him that Axel is the killer. Axel calls her on the phone, says that Jensen Ackles, that Tom has been he's been in an insane asylum for 7 years. He's not who you think he is. He's not who you think he is. And he tried to kill your son. And so that's a big thing. But he really didn't. The kid hid, and Tom never did anything. And I actually like the fact that this film, part of me kind of feels for Tom. He's psychotic. He's lost his mind. He's had he's having to take these pills to keep his mind straight. But I honestly think it's one of those things where it was a very traumatic experience for him to see these friends get killed in front of his own eyes, and then to see Harry right in front of him, and then try to kill him, and then he gets shot, and then he's covered in Harry's blood, but at the same time, it's like it doesn't give you an excuse to kill a bunch of people, become Harry Warden, but at the same time, it's tragic. It really is. It's a young man who's this event has completely just caused him to have a mental breakdown. That's just caused him to become a killer, and it is tragic in many ways, but hey, you're still a killer, and you still need to go down. But anyway, so you have this brief sort of thing. She crashes a car because she thinks that Jensen Ackles is a killer, and then she ends up going to Axel's cabin. She finds the Valentine for Megan, and finds the boxes of Valentine. So she thinks that Axel's a killer. The minor killer shows up. She says Axel, and of course you find it's not really. But you find out that later, which is a pretty good way they set it up, because she runs back in the mine. Axel Folwers is there. She tries to attack him. Jensen Ackles shows up. You go this back and forth, and she's got a gun, and she's like, and Jensen's trying to manipulate her, like a sociopath would. And I think his whole plan was to pin it on Axel and then get his girlfriend. That was his whole plan to begin with, and to get his girlfriend back and pin everything on Axel. And so, but he doesn't get it. He doesn't think it's through. because just about when Tom is about to prove that Axel is the killer, he messes up and he says, do you remember, Megan, he killed Megan, he ripped her heart out, that he wrote "Be Mine Forever" on the wall, the same thing that she wrote on the Valentine's card. And then, Sarah's like, "How did you know that? How did you know Megan was dead?" It's like, "You told me, remember? I didn't tell you that." And then Jensen starts having a mental breakdown. He's like, "Look, he's here! He's here! He's here! Harry! He's right behind you! Shoot him! Shoot him! Shoot him! Shoot him!" And it's like, "There's nobody there! There's nobody there, Tom!" It's like, "There's nobody here!" And then the way that it looks like Harry is behind her. But the film does a great job setting it up where it looks like Harry's behind her, but then he walks up and looks straight at, face to face with Jensen Ackles, and then he just disappears like he's a ghost. Because it's a figment of his psychotic mind. And I thought it was really well. The film did a great job showing his psychosis on the screen in a really, really well done manner. And then I really like the way they set this up. They have another homage to the original with the minor killer smashing the lights and chasing after people in the mine. But here it's Jensen Ackles and he's smashing the lights. But I love how just there's this quick edits, these quick flashes of the minor killer. Just like it just like smashes each time he smashes a light, you see a quick flash of the miner, you see the miner's helmet on his face, and then it fades away, and then it flashes back, and then it's really well handled and unique. And then he gets in a fight with Axel. He stabs him with the pickaxe, and he goes after Sarah, and she ends up shooting. She has one bullet left, and she shoots Tom in the side. The bullet goes through his side and hits I think it was like an O2 tank or something. It hits it's an explosive. It hits something that causes an explosion that blows him backwards. The CGI in that was kind of bad, but I know it was for a 3D effect, but it was still pretty bad. And then the film actually ends in a way I did not expect, where these miners come in to see if there's any survivors, and they see Tom there. It's like, "Hold on, we're here to help you." And then he grabs the pickaxe and stabs it right through one guy's eye, and from the point of view of his goggles, which I thought was pretty clever, really well shot. And then he ends up getting away with it. He walks away and he's still alive, and he dressed up as one of the paramedic miners and just walks off. He pulls the mask off, makes this crazy face, and then the movie fades to black. And so it was a setup for a sequel, and yeah, it's a sequel bait ending. But I think this movie should have had a sequel. I think it should have had at least one more film, because I like Jensen Ackles. They set it up well, and they were gonna. And I remember reading that Patrick Lussier and company, they wanted them to do it in the snow. I believe it was the screenplay by Todd Farmer and Zane Smith, and I think they were working on the sequel as well, and they wanted to do it in the snow. I'm like, that's an awesome idea. I would love to see that. I want to see a slasher movie in the snow, where the blood's dripping all over the snow and whatever. I mean, I wanted to see a Friday the 13th film do that, and I remember being really psyched when My Bloody Valentine 3D 2 was announced. My Bloody Valentine 2 was announced, and they were going to do that, and then nothing happened. So that was really too bad. But anyway, I really don't know what else to say about My Bloody Valentine 3D, except it's a film that I liked a lot when I saw it in the theater in 3D, and even in the 2D version, I still enjoyed the film. I think it's a bit underrated, to be honest. A 5.5 out of 10 I think is way too low for this film. There are a lot worse horror movie remakes that probably get better ratings than this. I mean, I wouldn't be surprised if Rob Zombie's Halloween gets a higher rating. In fact, I'm going to check that right now, just to see. I would check it if Firefox would work. Okay, all right. Let's see if we're. Come on, come on now, come on, fucking. Oh, come on now. Oh man. I hate it when it does this shit. Load, you asshole. Why are you doing this, man? Son of a bitch. Come on. Fucking load. Yeah, it gets a 6.1. A 6.1 out of... That's way too goddamn high for the Halloween remake. And this is a 5.5. I'm sorry, this is better. This is a lot better remake, horror film remake than that Rob Zombie's Halloween. All Rob Zombie did differently was ruin the mythos of Michael Myers, ruin the mystique, throw in a bunch of fucking swear words, and shoot death scenes backwards. Wonderful. Good job, Rob. And turn Loomis into an asshole. This at least did something different. This took a different direction. It had a different sort of ending. It had a different killer. It wasn't actually Harry Warden, so that was unique. And it was Harry Warden in the beginning, but it wasn't Harry Warden for the rest of the film. And it had its homages to the first film, but it also did its own stuff. It had some really great gore. So it was fun. I thought, there were some pacing issues a little bit, but they weren't enough to really kill the film. Some of the CGI gore effects and some of the CGI 3D effects I don't think hold up very well. Jensen Ackles' performance is uneven. But other than that, that's the only problems I have with the film, and that's why if I was going to rate this film out of 5 stars, I'm going to give it 4.5 out of 5. I liked it that much. I really did. Those are the only few little issues I have with the film. But anyway, if you don't like it, that's cool. I have no problem with that. But if you happen to enjoy it like I do, that's awesome too. If you think it's just okay, that's fine too. I mean, this is just how I feel. I just thought I'd share my opinions on this film, do a little review for My Bloody Valentine 3D and on Valentine's Day. It's not the only review I'm doing today either. So stay tuned for some more Valentine's Day sort of related horror films. And I hope you guys are enjoying and having a happy Valentine's Day. And thanks for watching. See you later. See ya.